Hey students, it's Tim here. I wanted to get out another video on the education system, and I highly encourage everybody to watch this video to its full capacity and think about it. I'm going to cover grade school and high school as one group. We'll call it pre-college. Then I'm going to cover college, and then I'm going to cover graduate, and then I'm going to cover a doctoral level. So I think that a lot of times students, when they come to a new college environment, they want to bring habits with them that they learned in high school. And again, I don't want to offend anybody in this video because I have students that range anywhere from 12 years old to 55 years old. So I want to explain the different levels as basic as possibly of our public education system so you can understand it a little bit better. So in grade school, what you do is you learn to take a test. When it gets down to it, they give you some basic topics: science, math, history, English, and maybe a few other things as your core classes. And then from there, you learn how to take a test. So you learn how to memorize things that your instructor's given you, and then you take a test, and then it shows that you're able to learn and memorize things. In a nutshell, that's what it is. Now, I'm sure I'll get a teacher that comes through here, well, Professor Starr, that's not really the case. Well, you need to relook it because that's kind of the way it works. Then when you get to college, what you're learning to do is you're learning how to research. All right. And why that's important for you at the beginning levels of advanced education is that you have to understand how to research. So the job of the instructor is maybe not to explain everything in detail, but point you in a direction to give you the basic skills and concepts to help you research and learn from that research. So that's kind of what we do at Valencia. Some instructors probably lecture a little bit more with online learning nowadays. There's not a lot of lectures that are done online. I also know that students very seldom open a book and look at a book. That's why I choose in most of my classes not to use a book. I do use simulators in some classes, my networking classes, and some programming classes and administration classes, because they combine everything kind of into one that students can use, and it makes it very convenient for the student and myself. So that's kind of why we do things. But in all of my courses that I teach, I basically give you some basic resources to research, and then from there you have to expand upon that. In most cases, you should be able to do it, and 80% of the students that go through my courses end up getting probably an A. There's a few that get a B, a few that get a C, and there's a few that fail. And normally the ones that fail is because they didn't try. So you have to do some work in college. When you arrive at a blocked wall, if you will, in a program, you have to research how to do that. I assure you, hundreds, if not thousands, of students before you have done it, and they've been successful at it. So, and the reason that this is important is you can't go to your boss every time in the real world and ask him how to open a file in C or open a file in a scripting program. You have to learn how to research, and that will carry over into your other courses that you take as well. So that's why we like to teach that, and that's especially the way that I like to teach. Present you with a challenge, consider it a job, and then your job is to research and complete that task. All right, and then from there, what's going to happen is you're going to get a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree, undergraduate degree. Then you're going to go on, a few of you will go on, you get a master's. So the master's kind of changes things a little bit. What you do then is you use your researching techniques, normally to do a capstone, you expand upon them a little bit. It kind of gets a little bit more advanced, but there's still a lot of research involved. There's a lot of reading and research, and then practical exercises that will expand upon that on those core fundamental values that you learned in IT. And then last but not least, a few of you may come on and go on and do research work and do work to get a PhD. I have a few students that have been with me over the years that have gone on and gotten a PhD. Of course, that's a lot more complicated, but what you do in the PhD is you normally write a paper, a very advanced paper, and then you specifically research something and you specifically do something. And it could be collecting data on the internet, but it shows that you've learned to pick a topic, learn to research it very well, and then come up with a something that you want to support, an idea that you want to support, and then you justify that particular topic in your as you're applying for your PhD. And then it's normally reviewed by your professors, and a lot of times it's released as a peer review too, to where other people that are known in the industry for that particular topic will look at it and give you some feedback on it. So you guys are way at the beginning. You're out of high school, you've learned to take a test, All right, you've learned how to select A, B, C, D. You've learned how to some basic writing skills, but now you're in the research phase. So what you have to do is you have to approach everything that is posted for you in my courses, and it covers all courses actually. And you have to do some research on your own. If there's a task that's given, you don't understand the terminology. Chances are the terminology sometime at some point in time has been presented to you. Maybe you forgot it. I used an example yesterday in a video I made that I had students in my advanced C class that didn't know what an IDE was. All right. I'm sorry, but everybody that takes C learns what an IDE is. That's the program that you use to write your code. So, we can't be held accountable as professors to review something with you that you should have had in a previous class. You have to have the wherewithal, if you will, to be self-motivated and go out there and do that research yourself and make sure you understand how to do those tasks. So sometimes when you submit assignment, you'll see that I give you a 1 or 2. Normally that means, normally what's happened there is the student has not read the instructions in full. Again, I get all types of students that come through the classes. Some are extremely motivated. Some go through a course, a 13-week course, and they say hello and goodbye. That's all I ever hear from them. Others may not be as motivated, and every problem that they encounter is my problem or the software's problem. But when it gets down to it, most of the time those students probably don't really belong in college because they don't have the motivation. Being in college requires some work, requires some motivation. So, you have to learn to take the initiative. And this is more a motivational speech type thing. And sometimes you have to ask yourself, do you really belong in college? I think everybody should have an opportunity to go to college. But a saying that I used to use with my kids all the time is not everybody could be an astronaut. Fortunately for you all, most of you probably had parents that helped you a little bit with your education and everything. I was one of those guys. I told my students I told my children that they must come home with A's. And to this day, they probably hate me for it, but they are still very successful. And they learned they learned critical thinking skills because I was an engineering manager. They learned critical thinking skills, and they learned how to research early on in life. That was one of the main things that I taught them. And because of that, they're very successful now. So the most essential thing that you can learn in any IT college course is learn to be self-motivated and learn to research. Just don't give up. Hundreds of people before you have done all these assignments. They haven't had any problems with it. Chances are, if you didn't do something exactly right and I gave you some feedback, you need to look at this. It just means simply read the instructions and go back and do it correctly. Sometimes you get in a hurry. I get it. Especially with COVID, we're all distracted. I mean, everybody's distracted. So I get it that there's issues, but you have to be self-motivated. You have to pay attention to details, and you got to do research and use critical thinking. Thank you, folks, and have a good day.